He is a guy that needs absolutely no introduction in the fan base, but we're going to give him one anyway. He is a Grammy Award-winning producer, writer, and musician. Plus, he's the musical director for Kelly Clarkson and the two-time Emmy Award-winning for best daytime talk show, The Kelly Clarkson Show. We are thrilled to welcome Jason Halbert to the show. Jason, hello.
Ooh, hello. Thanks for having me. This is fun.
Thank you very much for being with us. First and foremost, where are you talking with us from today?
This is my office at Universal Studios. It's where we filmed the Kelly Clarkson Show. We're in stage 1, and I'm here on the 4th floor. And this is right here is where I recorded Jesse's vocals. She's our vocal director for the show.
Yeah.
And any of the upcoming projects you hear Kelly singing on, it's usually she records here. Her glam room is right on the other side of this monitor, and so it's really easy for her to just walk right on over, and we do a lot of her vocals here. And this is where I arrange music for the show, and yeah, it's my little home space. I see this room more than I see my own house.
So where are you right now in terms of setting up for season 3? Because that's probably premiering in the next couple of weeks, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure the actual premiere date. I mean, I probably should. I get 1,000 emails today about that stuff, so I don't know when we're actually premiering. I know our first, I think our first taping episode is August 24th. And I've been here well, really, I haven't stopped. Kelly always has something going on. So even though we wrapped the season in May, we've been working every day on other stuff. And, so I've been back prepping for the show, and today is the first day I get the whole band in. So they're actually setting up on the 5th floor rehearsal room. And we're going to start trying to remember how to plug everything in and where we left off 2 months ago, and start rehearsing. We have our Kellyoke's lined up for the first 3 weeks of taping. And we have some really exciting stuff that we're excited about playing in the band. So we're gonna start hashing out those arrangements today, and then we should start filming in a couple of weeks.
Now, I don't know if this is something that you're allowed to talk about yet, but is the beginning of season 3 going to start with a live studio audience again, or are we going to be back to faces in the monitors?
I don't know, and it's not like I'm never not allowed to talk about something. It's just that marketing likes to save something for surprises, and we did have a plan as to how we were starting our first show, and obviously COVID is ever changing everything at this point. So you never, there's so many layers of there's what we want to do. There's what the producers want to do, and then there's what NBC wants to do, and then there's what labor and unions. So it's all in flux right now. Our desire is to be safe as possible. So we're sort of mixed following the science. Like, is it good to have an audience? Is it not? Are they going to be full? So assuming that we're all safe, of course, as a band, we would love to have a live audience in the room. It's fun playing with Kelly. It's just really weird playing in front of 3 camera guys and a couple of producers. It's not quite the same energy, as and I don't know if you watched any of the shows the first season, the Zoom sound of people clapping, it sounds like horses galloping in the background. I don't even know what that sound is. It's like our whole audience underwater going clup, clup, clup. And I think I pushed early on to have like a fake crowd sound, because everybody knows.
That would be really funny.
It's fake, but at least
you would know.
We wear in-ear monitors on stage while we're I'm assuming you guys know that, but the average fan, we always, I follow all the Kelly fan forum communities, and it's just more of there's some great people there, and I love their enthusiasm. B, I'm also a fan, and C, I use all of our fans to get ideas for tours and get ideas for the show. So anyway, I follow all that, and we always get these comments on stage, the band is too loud and we can't hear Kelly and blah blah blah. And what a lot of people don't realize is we actually make 0 volume. Like if the guy at the front of house turned off the sound, you would not hear a single thing that I'm doing. So there's never a case where I can play too loud over Kelly.
Yeah,
that's out of our control. Somebody else is mixing that blend.
Yep.
And then not only that, as you know, as an audio person, what somebody might hear on their TV at home is different than if you have a sound bar, that is different if you're watching on YouTube.
Yeah.
I don't know how we got off on that other than
but it's true, because a lot of it's also done, in post, because you record it, and then you can only do so much as the musical director, but then you send it off to whoever does the actual editing for the show. Like, you're not sitting there putting clips together. That's not your job. You have there's a whole team that does that. So
but I say that we're talking about the applause. So in our ears, we're hearing things that nobody at home hears. So I've got directors talking in one ear and producers, and there's all this stuff going on, but we actually put fake applause in our ears at the end of every song. So like when we end, there's a crowd of like 20,000 people cheering. So that's why we're all like, yeah, you know,
Like,
if you take
yes,
your ears
in
out,
the arena.
the room is just dead silence, you know? So, yeah.
Oh,
I just
that's
wanted,
funny.
this is a total tangent. I'm not calling you guys out. I've wanted for years to be able to say this. And I always forget in interviews, but it took me 10 years to train Kelly on this, but I'm not a musical director. I don't direct musicals. As a matter of fact, I hate musicals. I don't like Broadway sing. I'm a music director. I had to like send emails like NBC, like get my title changed. And that's just my own little thing. There are musical directors, and I'm a director who happens to be musical, but no, I direct music. So for all the people out there, get rid of that AL.
Please,
I don't do music.
You know,
Consider it done.
go on all your tangents here. This is the platform to do it. So please, by any means, go ahead.
Jason, you touched on a good thing there. You said that you're a fan, and we have lots of fans on the podcast who talk about how Kelly and her music have impacted their lives, be it either with one-on-one interactions or from afar. And obviously, we can't really go down that road with you because it would be a 4-hour show. So we thought we would start in a different way with you. And we kind of wanted to talk about how you got your start in music. Like, what made you decide to start playing music, and how old were you?
Yeah, and if you're genuinely interested, I'll tell it. I feel like I've told this story several times, but obviously everybody hasn't heard it, and it's always weird talking about myself. But yes, so I wanted to play guitar as a kid. My mom was like, no, you have to learn the piano first. I was really upset. Started learning the piano. I took classical music for about 2 years, and I just hated everything about it. There was nothing. I hated it. And so I stopped playing piano. And when I was in 6th grade, my mom was a nurse in Beaumont, Texas, and she heard about a piano teacher that taught a totally different. It's called the Nashville number system is what he taught. So you don't learn to read notes, and you don't learn music. You read by numbers, and that's a whole thing. But instead of teaching me classical music, he would teach me maybe a classical piece I need to learn. But then every week I could bring to him a song off the radio. So my first song was Bon Jovi, "Living on a Prayer."
Nice.
And then next week it was like,
I'm from Jersey, so I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah, David Bryan, one of my favorite keyboard players, and I never had his hair, but a lot of what I play came after him. So every week I would bring a song, he would teach me how to play it, and then he would teach me all the whys, so like, this is how they came about this arrangement, and here's what, so ironically, my first, 4 years of piano was spent learning cover songs and learning pop radio, which really paid off for me later on, never knowing that I'd be playing with Kelly Clarkson, I hate to call her the cover queen because she's so much more than that. Obviously, it's like she's both and. She has this incredible career as a songwriter and a pop performer, and she's not afraid to cover, and she's not just covering, she's actually reinterpreting. So anyway, you guys already know that. But that played well into that. I didn't play any bands growing up. I had one high school talent show when I was in 7th grade that some friends of mine in high school, and we played the Beastie Boys' "Fight for Your Right to Party" and Bon Jovi, "Living on a Prayer," and that was my only ever playing in front of a crowd. And then it was like 200 people, and then I had a band, as most musicians do. One of those bands where we rehearsed every weekend, and we rehearsed for 2 years, never did a show. We built our own stage out of old plywood, and like had T-shirts made, and like we did all the things, but we never actually played a show. But anyway, I love music. Music was my escape, from. We all have our things in childhood, and music was literally just my outlet. I poured, every second of my life into it. So I knew I wanted to be a part of music. I had no connections. I had no idea how I would ever be a part of music. So in my mind, I was never going to be able to play. I just wanted to be close to the industry. So my wife and I married at 18, which I would never recommend anybody else do, but it worked for us. But I knew her since kindergarten, and we were trying to escape together this small town in Texas that neither of us fit into for many reasons, and moved to Nashville. And I sold all my keyboards. By this time I had a Roland D50 and a Yamaha DX7, which are great 80s keyboards.
Oh, sure.
Sold one of them to buy her wedding ring for $600, and I sold one of them to help us get a U-Haul to move to Nashville. And like, I'm done playing music, and I just want to be close to it. So I went to Belmont for music business, and my wife wanted to go into artist management, and I wanted to go into publicity, specifically tour publicity, where a band goes on the road and you get them press, in all their cities and stuff. And
sure.
So I think I was in school for 6 months, and I got an internship at EMI doing publicity. My wife got an internship at a management label, or a management office. And there was a band, their top client was looking for a keyboard player. And this was it was a rap group, which I had no experience. Oh, well, I just told you I played a Beastie Boys song, but this was different. So I was not a rap,
One song does not fill out a resume.
Yeah. So that wasn't my style. And I told my wife, like, this isn't me, I can't do this. And they were looking for a B3 player. So B3 is the organ that I play on the show. It's now my main instrument, ironically.
Yeah.
I'd never heard of a B3. But she told them that I was the best B3 player that she knew. Total lie. So I have this audition coming up, and I had a friend an older friend that played B3, and so I bought a ticket on Southwest, flew from Nashville to Austin, spent a weekend literally learning how to turn this machine on, what to do with the drawbar, all the things. Went back, got the audition, dropped out of school, and went on tour, and that was my first band. And then that, we could talk an hour about how that led to this and this and this.
Yeah.
And I ended up with Kelly. So Google the rest of it, I guess.
it's really awesome to know, because Jeremy and I, we work in music as well, but we both took very different paths. But it's really cool that in this industry, or really any industry you go into, especially music though, everyone has a different path. So when you hear one person's story, you can't be like, oh well, that's how they broke, that's how they got into the industry, that's how I have to do it. It's so different.
And it's so frustrating for people coming in, because I get emails and all the time, and any of the hardcore Kelly fans know that I'm the worst at replying to anything. I don't ever reply on Instagram or Twitter. It's not because I don't, I'm just horrible at it. But everybody's asking how you break, and it's so frustrating because there's not a way. It's just like when you're learning engineering. When I decided to become a producer, I started picking people's brains. Well, how do you do this and how do you do that? And the answer is there's no answer. You just sort of figure it out. And that's the most frustrating thing to somebody that really, really wants to do it. And I have general things that could help. Like it's really hard to launch a career in music if you're living in Beaumont, Texas. Like you really need to go to Nashville, New York, or LA or London. Like there's some steps you can take, but certainly that's not going to get you a job. And unfortunately, talent is not going to get you. I mean, you have to have a talent, but talent doesn't guarantee something. There's so many, and it's like that in any job,
It's really who you know. It's about making those connections and just leaping at the opportunity. Like, whether that's an internship, that's how I work in management as well. So that's how I got my start. Or it's, doing like a little volunteer thing, or going to a coffee shop and meeting, it's really just about, okay, I'm going to do it and it might fail, but sure, I'll do it, whatever.
Well, and 100%. And it's definitely, and for an introvert like me, it's really hard to put yourself out there to do things or to ask and so I've had to really, I still struggle with that,
I totally get it.
So Jason, we obviously we know your story about how you started playing with bands in the CCM format. I know that in my music collection, the first mention I have of Jason Halbert is on the DC Talk Jesus Freak record, and so obviously I know how that format sort of ended up not being your cup of tea, and so we know the story about how you eventually meet and connect with Randy Jackson via the Idol franchise. And at what point did you start specifically working with the Idol folks?
That was Randy Jackson. I think I've told the story a couple of times, but I met Randy. I was touring with Nick Carter from Backstreet Boys, and he was on his solo album, which I really enjoyed. It was a really good record, and those were some really great times touring with him. And we were doing a radio show, and we were doing several, and it was Destiny's Child's last tour. And so we would, we were one of the artists that would, it was a multi-artist kind of festival thing, but Destiny's Child was every day. And I didn't know at the time, but Randy Jackson was out on the road with them. And I wasn't familiar with America. Matter of fact, during this, I don't even know if American Idol was filming when I did this tour, but I knew who Randy Jackson was because he played in Journey.
Right.
For a while. And so to me, that's Randy Jackson's Journey. And I knew about his career with Mariah Carey. I actually didn't know he was on the road. There's so many artists, and so I'd never run into him. I'd never seen him. And I flew my brother out to Miami just to come see the show, because I think there were some other bands he wanted to see. And we were in the dressing room, and he saw Destiny's Child's dressing room across the way, and he wanted to meet Beyonce. And I've never had a problem asking. I'm not, a lot of people question, like, do you go talk to a celebrity or not? I figured you can ask and somebody can say no. So I went up to security and like, hey, is there any chance I could get a picture? And he was like, hang on a second. He's like, yeah, absolutely, come on in. So I bring my brother in, and three of Destiny's Childs was standing there, and there was a guy in the room talking to him, and I said, "Hey man, would you mind taking a picture of us?" And he said, "Sure." Took the picture, and then went out in the hallway, and he came out, and I said, "Thanks for taking the picture." We start talking. The guy that took the picture was Randy Jackson. I still have the picture of us all. We started talking, we exchanged phone numbers, and I thought, well, this is really cool. I was fanboying over Journey. Exchanged numbers, and of course, he never called me, never texted, never heard from him at all. This was like October of probably 2002. So he must have been an Idol by then, because Kelly won in 2002, right?
Just finished, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so this must have been, yeah, that would make sense. He must have wrapped filming, and then, okay, so that makes sense. Again, I'd never seen Idol, didn't even know it was on.
I didn't watch it either, if that makes you feel any better.
I did. And I had, Nick Carter stuff was ending, and I'd gone to some auditions, and I got a call back for Jane's Addiction, which was a band that I was into.
Yeah.
And I didn't get the job necessarily, but I got a call back, and it was me, and I know that Chris Pooley, who is now the music director for American Idol, he's the one who actually ended up taking the job. But I didn't know at the time. I thought I had a chance at it. And Randy Jackson called me, and literally like, "Yo dog, this is Randy. I have the show American Idol, and we're just, we're gonna go do a bunch of TV promo, and I've got these artists, Justin and Kelly, I've never heard of. And would you want to put a band together?" And I just said, "I'm sorry, I just, I'm going after this other job, and I just don't think I can do it." Called my wife, and she was like, "You need to call him back," because she and my kids have been watching the entire season of American Idol. They voted for Kelly, and she was like, "You need to call him back." So I called him back. I said, "Oh, I'll look into it." And I never auditioned for it. Randy just literally called me in and was like, "Okay, next Friday, you're doing Leno with Justin Guarini. I think we did a song called Sorry."
Mm-hmm.
Did that. I still had no idea I was going to be working with Kelly at all. So I was actually working for Justin, and he was doing a thing for Good Morning America in June of 2003. And Kelly and Justin had a duet, Timeless, from the movie Justin and Kelly, which I still have not seen. Kelly. I promised her I would never watch it, so I've never seen it.
Breaking news.
But actually, I love the songs on it, because we did a medley one tour of like
the bounce.
The bounce was my favorite, and like
it is a great soundtrack. I will start a petition to get that music out there.
Yeah, we've talked about this in the past about how it's almost criminal that soundtrack never saw the light of day, and it deserves it.
Yeah, I've tried to work it into a couple of one tour we did a medley of it. So but anyway, we did Timeless. I met Kelly. We had to meet we had to rehearse. So we were at SIR in New York, and she just came in and ran the song. She didn't know us. We were just Justin's band at that point. And I was walking out the door, and she was like, "Hey, wait, can you come back a second?" And I said, "Yeah." And she was working on a Christmas project at the time. And she was recording Amy Grant's Grown Up Christmas Wish. I think we did that.
Mm-hmm.
We did a bunch of TV promo after that for it. And she needed help picking out a key. And she's like, "Have you ever heard this song, Grown Up Christmas Wish?" Well, obviously, with my CCM background, I knew every Amy Grant song ever written. And
sure.
So I was like, yeah. And so I don't know if she was somewhat impressed that I knew the song or what, because it's a lot of chords. Helped her pick a key. And then we sort of started talking and bonding over Texas. And then a week later, she asked me if I would stay with her. And again, it wasn't because of talent. I think literally Kelly hired me because I was from Texas. I really think that's what it came down to, and I'm thankful for it. And it sounds, I'll
so
take
can
it.
Can we say here then that Kelly stole you from Justin?
At the time, yeah, I guess so. I mean, in hindsight, Justin didn't continue, so it doesn't feel like a steal. And technically, she only quote stole me for that one. I don't know what tour it was. I call it the trailer park tour, and I grew up in a trailer park, so no offense. I mean, my people. But it was a state fair tour, and I'd never, the band I'd started with, my first band ever was DC Talk, and I literally started playing in arenas. So I'd never done. So now I'm with Kelly Clarkson, the winner of Idol, and we're playing like monster truck rallies, bicycle things, like at state fairs on like a pull-out bed trail, So it was, and I hadn't traveled, and that's it was a tour of the Midwest of state fairs. So we did like a little 3-week run in that, and then after that, I was done with Kelly, and then Randy put me on Ruben and Clay. So I did Clay's solo stuff, all of his TV promo, and then see, there was a tour I did with Clay. I definitely won't get into this, but I ended up leaving the tour. Let's put it that way. I didn't finish the Clay tour, and which was really scary for me because I had no income and I didn't know, but I just had to quit. So we left the tour, and the next week I called 19 Management and Ada Blute there, who now manages Carrie. And I said, hey, by any chance, if Kelly ever has anything going on, please let me know. And she's like, wow, funny you called. We just finished this song called Breakaway, and we're going to start doing promo, and let me see if we want to have you on it. So we did, and we started doing Breakaway from there. So yeah, I don't know if she stole me. It sort of worked out. It's like, we're, I'm glad she did. Whatever you want to call it, I'm very, very, very glad she did, because isn't it crazy when you make just one little decision and it can affect the next 20 years of your life, good or bad. So
yes, absolutely. So obviously, there's been a lot of band members that have toured and worked with not only Kelly, but with you as well. And, a lot of them are fan favorites. I mean, we're talking people like Aben and Corey and Einar and Lester. Yep. Can you kind of talk about, because the Breakaway era is sort of when a lot of the core people that the fans really, kind of fell in love with the backing band. Can you talk about kind of how those guys all sort of came to be to join you in the band?
Wow, you're testing this 47-year-old's memory really hard right now.
We have we have a decent idea about Aben because we know that he was out touring with Graham Colton.
Yep, so he was with Graham Colton, and that's definitely where we met and became friends. And then we had another guitar player that ended up not staying with us, and so we brought Aben in at that point. And I think Aben's one of the first one. Who was the band on Breakaway? Let's see, it was Al Berry.
Jimmy, Al.
Yep, and Al we brought back for Meaning of Life.
Yeah.
It's a you literally don't see this in any other band that I know of. Like, it's just funny coming off of the Stolen, like Kelly doesn't consider musicians property. And so like usually it's like, this is Pink's guitar player, this is Alanis' guitar player, and Kelly never approached things that way. So like we had Corey Churko was our fiddle player on the Breakaway tour. Yeah, we had two violin players on that tour, Corey and Nimrod. And our guitar player didn't finish the last two shows. We needed a guitar player for the last two shows. And Corey was our fiddle player, and Corey was like, well, I'll play guitar for you. Never heard him play guitar. Well, it turns out he'd been playing with Shania for 6 years at this point.
Yeah.
With Shania's
and
MD.
he plays everything.
I knew that. Yeah, totally. So literally he came in and did the next two shows perfectly, and we're like, oh my gosh, that's Corey. So now Corey's our guitar player. Well, now Corey has to go out on tour with Shania, and it never was like, let's make a choice. So Corey did Shania, and obviously you're free, and then Corey came back in. And it's been this, and it's the same the way now with Jocko Caracco. We have Jocko, and then he goes out with Miley, and then comes back. And same with our singers. Like, I just say that for people to know that that's so rare. And I would say, the fans would actually probably know better than I have. We've probably had 20 to 30 different musicians, over the years. I would say out of that 30, like any other job, there's maybe 2 or 3 that were let go for one reason or another. The rest of them, it never was a sense, people, when people are like, why isn't this person here, not there? It could be anything from they needed time with family, and Kelly's like, yeah, go take it, or it's they had another tour. I just really appreciate that about this camp. So back to your question. Sorry, I can.
No, it's okay. I was just going to say also that, like, I think what a lot of people don't necessarily know if they're not familiar with like touring life is that for a lot of musicians, whether you're working with a artist who's playing an arena or who's playing a little club, a lot of it's gig based. So you go out for a couple months at a time, and then you're just working for the next gig. That's also common. I'm not sure how exactly is in the KC world.
It's the same way, and it's just so rare. Like we have musicians here that have been here 8, 10, for me 18 years. Like it's extremely rare. That this just doesn't happen a lot. So it says a lot about Kelly's loyalty, and it says a lot about the type of environment that she's created, that everybody wants to come back to it. Because now in hindsight it looks like a no-brainer, but at times Kelly wasn't the biggest artist out there, and there were people that were on much bigger tours that would, even like Nicole Hurst, who we just lost recently. She, same thing. She would go back and forth with Justin Timberlake, and Justin's, playing sold out huge stadium and Super Bowl, all stuff like that. And there's, I'm bragging on our camp. We have such a good group of people that you have people that just want to be a part of it. So.
Well, I think that really speaks to an artist is the people that surround that artist, because, there's a lot of spotlight on Kelly, but, the fans really do get attached to the band as well. I mean, we can go down the line with, you know, people like Nicole, who we are so sorry to all of you in Kelly's camp for your loss. But I mean, you even think about, you know, going back to, you know, Al, and you think of Jill and Kate, and you think of just the number of people who have come through that camp, and all of them have become, you know, part of the family, not just for you guys, I'm certain, but to the fan base as well. And the fans continue to follow them around and keep tabs on the projects that they're doing. And I mean, even you yourself, I mean, you're playing with Colby Calais, doing some dates with her too, correct?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And I don't even feel like I'm doing work for that. That's my selfish, like, you know, some people to blow off steam, go play golf, or some people, you know, play tennis. And as crazy as it is, like, the Colby stuff for me is just, I've listened to her music now for probably 10 years plus, and there's just something, I wish I could say this in a way that was understood. It's not even a comparison of artists, but obviously they have very different voices. And Kelly's voice is either in my ears or coming out of my speakers 12 hours out of every day and so Colby is such a different tone. It's almost like it's a different listening experience. So
it's
anyway,
not work for you.
Yeah, exactly. So it's listening, and there's definitely Kelly songs I listen to as well, but it was just therapeutic for me. So the Colby thing, like, to be honest, I don't even know if I'm getting paid for it or how much. It's just, I just wanted to do it. And I've been, so I think when Jocko first came on, and I found out he was playing for Colby, I'm like, oh my gosh, you got to get me on this gig. And I've been asking him for 8 years in this final one. I'm like, I'm not bringing you back until you get me a Colby gig. He's like, I can't. And ironically, Colby's music director or formerly is Cheche Alara. And he's a music director in LA and great piano player. He's actually the one that put me on Paulina Rubio, she was a judge on X Factor. She's an artist. So Cheche's put me in a couple of things, and when he couldn't do a Colby gig, he asked me to do it, and I was just like, yes, I'm in. So I just did my second gig with her this weekend. I think I have a couple more, and yeah.
That's awesome.
But yeah, in our band, like you talk about, like, it's your fans get attached. These, you know, imagine living for a year. I mean, we're with each other 24 hours a day. We're living together on our bus. So all these musicians are friends, family. Our kids are growing up together. We've celebrated marriages, divorce, everything. Like, it's literally like family members, and it's hard when somebody's not there for a season. It's just like I think we're still in touch with just about. I mean, I just talked to Jill and Kate yesterday. I see or talk to them at least once a month. Even more than that. Al Berry, our kids grew up together and went to camps together, and it's just like these are more than just musicians. These are just really, really great friends.
Yeah.
I love that. So I'm going to just switch gears for a little bit.
Okay.
So clearly you've done a lot of awesome things. You've been very well traveled. I kind of wanted to ask, what have been some of your personal top favorite experiences working with Kelly?
There's so many. Obviously, the Piece by Piece American Idol was a highlight. Very, very unexpected. The response. Fans know all about that. I mean, playing the White House this year, the inauguration, I think it was Obama's second inauguration. That was incredible because what song did we do? Do you even know?
My Country to Zippy, I think.
Was it that? I thought James Taylor did it, but okay, maybe it is. Anyway, whatever it was, a lot of times the way Kelly works, and I hope one day I can release some of these things to show people her talent. A lot of times she'll just send me a voice memo, so I'll get a random message and it's her singing a cappella, you know, and then I try to craft that into a song. Like, even, you know, something like Catch My Breath, she would just send me a verse, and then I'm like trying to create music around that. So for the inauguration, and Kelly be the first to admit, he said it, how somebody can have one of the best voices I've ever heard and have no sense of timing is just beyond me. And I think that's why I have my job, is I can follow her. Like, you know, to a musician, you follow 1, 2, 3, 4. Kelly is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Like, and piece by piece is an example. If you listen to all of our arrangements, Kelly doesn't. There's not a lot of space in between the vocal. Like, she'll really take her time on emote, and then it's like there's musical stuff, and then she comes in again. So like on Piece by Piece, I'm not a singer, as everybody knows. The verse and I don't remember is it bad? And then I have to play real fast. Dun, 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 slow it down. Dun, 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 dun,
Right.
dun, 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 dun. So that's kind of our flow. And so for the inauguration, she just sent me a voice memo, and I was trying to play along to it, and it was going like 3/4, 5/4, 7/4. There was this. It wasn't the strict arrangement.
Yeah.
And for her, she's just singing a cappella, and she's just feeling the emotion. But because we had a live orchestra, I had to actually tempo map that so the orchestra could follow along with the click. So I had to. So anyway, all to say, while she was singing with the orchestra arrangement, I was at front of house with a microphone in her ears, literally just giving her 3/4 to
oh my god,
to let her know when the next section is to come in. Wow. And it was actually more pressure doing that for me than actually playing with her live, because if I mess her up, she says all the time she's Ron Burgundy. So if I counted in wrong or did something wrong, or if I sneezed, I could have blown the whole thing. So that was a huge highlight.
There's no redoing that as well.
No,
the world is watching you.
Yeah. And wow, there's just been the Garth Brooks thing we just did, Kennedy Honors. I'm only saying recent things because they're most of my memory, but it's just I get to be a part of more things in a year than some people in a lifetime. So it's just like they're all momentous. So I mean, the Grammy performance where I think it was me and Aben and Corey out in the center of the Grammys. I think we did who were Carole King?
Was the Carole King thing?
Yeah. That was amazing. I mean,
when we did an episode all about sort of some of Kelly's career highlights, and one of the ones I was wondering if you were going to bring it up or not, but and we know that you are a man of faith, and so one of the biggest things was Kelly's performance in front of the Pope. And I know that you guys were all there as well. I mean, how much of an out of body experience was that for you?
It was, but in a very different way. So I didn't grow up Catholic. I grew up Protestant. Mm-hmm. And my father-in-law had just recently converted from Protestant to Catholicism. So I didn't have I had no knowledge or history of, kind of even what a Pope was. I had played for a previous Pope with DC Talk. I feel like it was John Paul II maybe or something. Mm-hmm. So anyway, so for this one we played for Pope A. I'd never heard the song Ave Maria before, but that's what I think that's the song that we did.
Yep.
So, learned that, and there was no sense of pressure for me. It was just, another song, we're doing it. I think we had a
it's just another gig.
Until we got there, and it was the most amazing experience. Somebody can probably fact check me, but this is my recollection. I think there's a thing where when wherever a pope is actually considered Vatican land or whatever. So anyway, as we were coming in, it was like state trooper check line, Secret Service check line, and then past the Secret Service, the Vatican Guard now has jurisdiction. So like there was all these layers of getting in. So with each layer, you're getting the sense of, oh, this is a really big deal. This is a big deal. And then you're seeing snipers, and then you're, now the pressure is building up. And I was, anyway, I was in my hotel room getting ready and shaving my head, which I didn't do today because I wasn't sure if this was video or not. But anyway, shaving my head, and I'm watching the Pope on TV. People, it was on, and I want to see the venue, and people were greeting the Pope, and then they would kneel down, and then they kissed his ring or his hand, and it felt very Monty Pythonish to me. I'm not derogatory. I'm just saying I had no experience with that, so that was a new thing to me. And I remember calling my wife and I'm watching, this is weird, and I'm like, I go, and I'm not a touchy person anyway. I'm not a hugger. I'm not a which is weird working with Kelly because, oh my gosh, she's a nonstop hugger. But I said to my wife, I'm like, I could never kiss a guy's ring. Like, I just can't imagine kneeling down and doing the thing. It just, it felt, so like, I would never do that. And so anyway, we're on stage, and as you walk the stage, it's like there's an escape pit thing with a slide for the Pope. Like there was an attack. There was this whole bio chamber underneath with like it was intense. And so at this time now I'm a little bit tense about, just the whole event. And one of the Vatican Guard, which is similar to a Secret Service, I had an escort, and he walked me onto the stage, and they started telling you things like, never turn your back on the Pope. It'd be just like meeting the Queen, where there's certain things you do out of respect. And I'm like, and absolutely, I was very respectful of it. So, and he was like, as soon as you're done, you're going to exit, turn, immediately, don't turn your back, but just get off the stage as fast as possible. And we finished the song and it was awesome. And I'm trying to leave the stage and a Vatican guard grabs me by the shoulders and turns me around to face the Pope again. He's like, you need to go up and greet the Pope. And so like Kelly had gone up and somebody else, I think, was it Corey? I can't remember who
I think Corey and like, Aben might have both been with
Aben, that's right. It was Aben. Yeah. Okay, because Aben was in front of me. No, Aben was behind me, I think. So anyway, national TV, and I felt like Forrest Gump, and all of a sudden there was no train. I didn't know what to do, and so I was just watching what everybody else did, and they would walk up, and lo and behold, I walked across the stage, and I knelt down and kissed the Pope's hand. Just after I said I would never do it because it was just out of. And then I learned after the fact, apparently, because my father-in-law had just. And it was embarrassing because of the again, I just didn't have a lot of knowledge of it. He was handing out little bags, I called it like party favors. I didn't know what it was.
Yeah, it was like a goodie bag.
Turns out it was rosaries, and it was a big deal to get, a rosary and Pope, and I ended up giving it to my father-in-law. But I was just so nervous and out of body that I knelt down, kissed, and ran around. And then the Vatican guards grabbed me again because I didn't accept the bag.
Oh, geez.
So I went back and did the whole thing. So anyway, that has nothing to do with the music. It's just, that was a very, very memorable event for me. And then I found out you were only supposed to kiss his ring if you were actually Catholic. So now I'm getting like phone calls and messages from my family. And a lot of my family, my wife's family in Texas are Assemblies of God pastors. And, the whole story about that. But anyway, all of a sudden I'm in this call. It's like, oh, so you guys have converted? You're Catholic now? And I'm like, no, I just did what I kissed the ring. So,
I did it anyway, on your behalf.
Yeah, yes, exactly. So it was definitely an honor, and I learned a lot more about after the fact, and it was really awesome to be able to give my father-in-law the rosary. And I'll never forget the images of doing Since You've Been Gone, which I don't know if they televised that, but we did like a little mini concert type thing previous to the Pope being there.
The Pope.
Well, he wasn't there, so like we did a pre thing, but I think it was at Yonkers Seminary.
It was
so
Yonkers,
anyway,
yeah.
I just remember literally priests and nuns, and all of a sudden they start lifting these priests. The priests are like body surfing, in full on habits and the thing like that, and it was a very surreal experience.
I need to find that footage. That's
yes.
amazing.
There was a priest mosh pit out front.
That's amazing.
Okay, switching gears again. Kelly, obviously, you and her have had a long relationship, and over that time, there's been increased amount of involvement with you and her recording her albums. How has your involvement increased in the recording of Kelly's albums?
I mean, incrementally a lot, and it's gone from, and again, hopefully there's a little bit of talent there, and I'm doing good by her, but honestly, a lot of it started off just out of convenience. It was just so much easier, to come to the dressing room, and I would set something up and I would record something for her. And I can't remember even the first thing I think My December was the first time I worked on something, but I didn't record a lot of her vocals for that. But as time went on, it was, even now, it's a lot of times it's just a step of convenience to walk next door and do that. Now, fortunately, I didn't go to college, didn't learn anything professionally engineering, but as the music director, I had lots of access to, when you do a tour, you get the producers to send you all the raw parts of the album. So from day one, I'm getting sessions from Max Martin, from Dr. Luke, from John Shanks. And, when you get to see somebody's workflow, it's literally like going to college. I'd be like, oh, that's how they do that. I never knew how that happened. Or why can't I get this sound? And I would call up the producer. And I remember, I think it was My Life Would Suck. There's a synth bass sound at the top of it. I didn't know how to make that sound. So I called up Dr. Luke, and I'm like, and he's, oh, you do this, 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 and this. So anyway, I learned a lot from these producers just by getting to watch how they did things. And then I think that helped my craft. And then, and because of my lack of knowing how to do things right, a lot of her vocals that I recorded were just more raw and natural. I didn't know how to press a certain way. I didn't know how to edit vocals a certain way. And she felt like, wow, this sounds like me. Because a lot of times she would record something, people would notice on the album she sounded one way, live she sounded different. And I feel like when I record her vocal, it sounds more like Kelly. And there's a few fans that tend to agree and like the vocals that I record. And there's, my bio on Instagram is Jason Halbert. He's no Greg Kirsten, and that's a running joke from Pulse message boards. There's a couple of people there that are not fans of, you know, it's like when they hear that I've produced something, they're like, oh, Jason again. Oh, we hate.
My God.
You know? And there's some people that love it, and it doesn't. To me, it's funny. It's just because I can't do anything more than what I can do, and I'm probably one of Greg Kirsten's biggest fans. So I'm like, of course I'm no Greg Kirsten. I'm never going to be, you know. But I've learned a lot from him. So I have a different style of production with her vocal, and you know, in the recording process, well, some artists, you might take 100 takes and you're clumping like every little word together. With Kelly, I probably get 3 or 4 takes at a given time out of her, and we just do whole passes. And I literally sit with my eyes closed, and you know, if she sang the same phrase 4 times, I'm never looking for the perfect one. I'm looking for the one that has the most emotion in it, you know. Or I'm a fan of that low gravelly thing in her voice, or sometimes, or like the little imperfections. And so I literally go through and just choose whatever has the most emotion to me. And you know, and I'm a softie when it comes to it. Like she makes me cry on a regular basis. It's amazing how she can emote things in her voice. So so that's my approach to producing her vocals, and I think she tends to like it. So I think half of it's convenience and half of it she just likes what it sounds. So
I'm curious, because the $1 million question that every fan, you know, submitted to us for a question, which we kind of know we're not going to get any answer about, which is, when is new music coming? Can you confirm? Yeah, confirm it's soon. That's really
the company line is soon.
And here's the deal. I used to like speak out more about the stuff, and without exaggeration, for the past 18 years, there's never been a month that I haven't recorded something for Kelly for some upcoming project. And the fans know this, even when Kelly says, hey, my next single is such and such, something inevitably happens where maybe it's not. So I just gave up trying to predict. So all I know is I've worked on a lot of music, and there's been some speculation online about what that might be. And there are some elements, but I don't know if that's actually for now or what. And then we've been working on stuff that is definitely not what fans think it is. And then I've recorded 3 or 4 things in the last 6 months that have nothing to do with an album, but that if they come out are some of the most exciting things I've ever done. So I'm not being cryptic, and I never, you know, I'm never mad for somebody asking. And it's not that even, and nobody's ever told me no. I just feel like it's not my story to tell. I don't want to mess up any, you know, surprises, because sometimes that's fun. And to be honest, even if Kelly came on and said, this is what's happening, there's a chance that maybe something else will happen. So I just like it to come out when it comes out. And it's always a surprise, because a lot of times by the time something comes out, I forgot that I was even a part of it. Like I'm getting another round of messages right now about the morning show appearance that we did. Well, that was like a year and a half ago. Honestly, I forgot that we ever even did that, you know. So by the time things come out, there's just so much going on in a good way. So that's not a so music is coming soon.
It's also you don't make the call. It's really a label and a management thing. So there's like there's a lot of people to go through. So
the same thing with, like, you know, everybody's like, please release whatever demo version from 2003 of a song you wrote. And it's like, come on, you know, I can't do that. Like it's not even like, it's just
even the songwriters.
Even Kelly said, exactly. And it's just, that's not my thing, but keep on asking. And there's somebody out there, whoever you are, good try. There's somebody that keeps on, who will pretend to be me and email Aben, or pretend to be me and email David Kahn or Jimmy Messer. And I'll get an email from Jimmy, and it's like, hey, I got an email from you that you needed this track for my December. I'm like, no, that is not me. And like, you know, so this last time I trolled the dude, and so whoever it was like, hey, this is Jimmy, I need this file from such and such. And I'm like, oh, great to hear from you. I'll put it in your Dropbox, you know. And then he responded with, oh, I can't find that link. Can you text it to me? I'm like, oh, sure, I'd send it to your old cell phone number. You know, so we're not going to get it out of us. And it's really not that important. And but good try.
Oh my gosh. That being said, what is it like though? Because, you know, all right, let's go back 5 years. You predominantly are just working on her musical career, and that's already a very, very full-time job. What is it like now doing the music and talk show and trying to make all that work? What are the challenges?
Well, I mean, I was as shocked as Kelly or anybody else when I found out we were doing a TV show. And then we were all kind of scared at first, because it's, you know, well, does this mean she's going to go hire Ricky Minor and his band? And are we going to work? Are we not going to work? I don't know, which would all be fair. But anyway, she asked me the TV show. And by this point, I've done 300 plus TV shows over the, you know, So I thought, oh yeah, I've got to handle how TV works. I had no idea.
You know how to go for sound check, perform the one song, and
yeah,
leave.
exactly. And we're used to like learning stuff on the fly. So I thought, got this. Unbelievably different world, unbelievably different workflow. On tour, Kelly is whatever Kelly says, I get to do and get the resources. Now I've told the story 100 times. Like I think might have been in Vegas, and literally like at 10 in the morning, she's like, hey, I want to cover this Britney Spears song and I want a harp player. So I had to source a harpist, before a show, or I want a kids choir in Africa, and okay, whatever. And I love that stuff. So the first week of the TV show, the producers say, we're filming a segment on 18th century cooking, and we want to dress the band up like an 18th century stuff. And can you play some medieval type music? And I'm like, sure. And so I told Kelly, hey, I'm gonna get a hurdy-gurdy, which is this medieval instrument, to play it. And so I did. I had my tech book it. We found one that Hans Zimmer owned, and we did the whole thing. And then I turned in my receipt to NBC, and it's like, yeah, we use this in the show. And they're like, yeah, we didn't know anything about that. You didn't get approval. I'm like, but Kelly said, well, that's not how, I've had to learn how to go through, there's
touring life is different.
Yeah.
Touring life is very different. But man, the challenge of it's great. And in hindsight, wow, I can't even imagine, the fact that she went into TV right before this pandemic. I mean, all my friends are out of work. This has been a really hard year for musicians. And so to actually been able to keep a job during this is just
I was
amazing.
Out for a while,
I'm so thankful for it.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Well, and we should say too, since we have you on the line and we're able to say this to you, you and the band and the production team, I mean, everybody at the show, you guys did an immaculate job.
Insane.
Especially when it came to when you guys were sort of doing the summer shows last year and you were putting the karaoke's together when everyone is scattered everywhere. I think that was so missed by the industry of how truly difficult that had to have been from every aspect, from you arranging and putting everything together. And I don't mean to minimize what you do, but I mean, there's a lot that you did behind the scenes that nobody will ever see. And not to mention, the editors and the band members and Jesse and Kelly. I mean, everything that came together with that was so incredibly well done. They're actually some of my favorite performances because there was just a different level to them. So props to you guys for doing what you did with what you had to deal with last summer, because it was truly incredible.
Thanks. We enjoyed it. It was half us coming together, and it was half just trying to save our jobs, because we're like, the natural thing was during pandemic, so we're not going to do any karaoke's, because how do we do that? We had no reference for even how it would happen. And Kelly's in Montana, and the band is scattered all over the place. And I told the producer, no, we can do this. And we usually rehearse in the room so we can bounce ideas, and I can say, no, I don't like that, blah blah blah. This time I would have to arrange something, and Lester would start by just playing drums by himself, and he would have to imagine what I would want, and he would add little hits and fills, and then Kyle would add his bass. And so the way that came out was amazing. The hardest part was Kelly's vocal, because she was recording on an iPhone. There was no microphone. It was literally her iPhone video, and you know how that quality is. And so to get rid of, I learned a lot as far as I did the best I could, and I think it sounds pretty amazing considering
it was incredible.
An iPhone, so it was fun and challenging. And then the Henson sessions we did coming back was another level of challenge, because at this point she was back in LA still filming at her house, and we were at Henson. And so I was like, surely we can bring her screen, and I want to feel like we're performing with Kelly. So the logistics of pre-recording her vocal performance and then incorporating that live when we did was a new challenge, and we got through that. But anyway, thank you. It was a blast, and we just didn't want a show to exist without karaoke, because we didn't want to figure out that obviously she can carry a show all by herself, but we want to be a part of it.
Hopefully you won't have to do it like that ever again, though.
I hope so,
fingers crossed. So I know you've said that you have, I don't want to say lurk is not the right word. You have looked at different boards and social media to get input from fans. So I'm curious what involvement for any project do you get from just seeing feedback or seeing ideas that people would want?
Yeah, I mean, I initially started as a tool like the KC Express, which is now on Top of Talk or something. I started looking at that probably somewhere on Breakaway as a research tool. The YouTube was fairly new at the time, and they were archiving performances. And so if Kelly wanted to do a song again and I couldn't remember what key it was in, I would go to the Express and download our performance. Like, they were like the archivist of our performance. And there's one longtime member, director Sandy.
Yeah, we love her.
Yeah, so I messaged her early on, and I can't remember what it was. We were, one of the tours, it was definitely, we were gonna start doing a cover song every day, and I couldn't remember what all we had covered. And so Sandy compiled a list to me of everything we'd ever done. And now there's like an ongoing thread. I can literally,
there's a Google Doc. There's a Google Doc. Someone has
I now
one.
have it so that I can go back, because I've lost track. And so now I can say, have we done this song? Yes. And where did we do it? And I can get a recording of it. And so anyway, that's kind of how it started. And then you see the inevitable commentary that happens on it. And I'm drawn more to the negative comments, but that reply to me just in a good way. I like hearing what's working, what's not working. And I can dismiss some things as, some people don't have all the information. So it's like, well, why aren't you doing this song, or why are you doing that? So we have our reasons, but it's good to hear. And then I started getting creative ideas from fans. The Never Again piano only version, that came from a fan who suggested it.
Wow.
Or I think one of the tours we did sort of a little audio medley of her greatest hits going together. That came from a fan. So I'm constantly, they have great ideas, and then I'm always kind of pushing. You start to see certain things come to the surface, and you're like, I can go to Kelly and say, wow, there's a lot of people would really like to hear such and such. And I think that's when I can't remember what tour, I implemented the Kelly throwback, where we would do covers, and then once a show we would do something from her catalog.
Yeah.
Which is selfish for me, because there's always songs, everybody knows, like, I keep pushing What's Up Lonely, and
that was my next. That was our last question before we get into our rapid fire, was going to be about that. Jason, what do we have to do as a collective fandom? Do we have to get like a petition started to get that into a set list? Is there anything we can do to help you?
I literally think there's probably been 4 tours already where it's been a part of the set list. We rehearsed it, we're going to do it, and then it goes away. So, but at least we get it once or twice. And there's several songs that are my favorites.
I'm willing to spearhead that and just help you out, because I don't think I've ever actually seen that live, and I'd love to. It's a fantastic song. I know it's your one of your favorites.
Yeah, I just love the chords, love her vocal on it, and I think You Love Me is one of my favorite songs that she's done.
Great one.
There's so many. So I'm always trying to get a little bit in, and I have a plan for this season that everybody's gonna love, I think. So
all right,
I'm excited
for our fans.
You heard it here first.
Excellent.
The cryptic message, but you heard it here first.
Well, Jason, when you said you were okay with coming on the podcast, you said that you'd love to do some fan rapid fire questions, and so we've gathered some that we got hundreds of questions that people sent into us, and we had to whittle it down to just a few. So this is my penance for not replying to any tweets. I feel like I'm replying right now, so I'm going to give you back. Well, there you go. All right, Pam, I'll do the odd number ones. You do the even number ones. Okay.
Fantastic.
All right.
Let's do it.
First one.
No, don't be.
There's not that many. All right. This one's from Henry. He wants to know your favorite Kelly album.
Sorry, Piece by Piece, probably. Piece by Piece, yes.
All right.
This is from Rob. Favorite Kelly tour that you have performed on?
Hands down, Ask Kelly, anyone in the band, the Maroon 5 tour. It was like
interesting.
It was the fun of headlining without headlining, and we were done every day. Got to go out and watch Maroon 5. We had little barbecues set up. Like it felt like summer camp. Like, and it was the coolest hang between the bands. Like everything about that tour is hands down our favorite as far as being a part of it, the actual logistics of it. As far as production, I think Piece by Piece. Wait, it's Piece by Piece where we had like the video walls that would turn into lights behind us. That was amazing. I felt like we were the biggest rock stars in the world. Opening with Dance with Me. Dance with Me. Yes.
That's Jeremy's favorite.
Yes. And that was my favorite opener.
And the whole arrangement going into it, I think it was an orchestral version of Take You High.
And
I'm horrible with
When Doves Cry.
Yeah,
and that
was Joe Trapanese's arrangement. So like it felt epic every day walking on the stage to the orchestra and then going. So that was fun.
Ariana says, do you ever look back at a finished song and wish you did something differently?
The entire Smokestack Sessions album.
What?
Is anybody familiar with that?
Yes.
Yeah. Which one? One or two? The first or second?
There were two. I guess we recorded them all at one time, so I don't know how they were released. Like that was all done in one day.
Yeah, because one of them was more covers. The other had more stuff from Stronger on it. So
got it.
But I mean, those
so
are
probably,
those are beloved.
same. So I wish I'd have done differently in the sense of it was the most amazing arrangements, and Kelly was in the room with us. And like, so imagine a vocal mic, you never put the singer in the room with the band. Kelly was in the room with the band, drums, everything. Like, we were all facing each other, and it was magic arrangement. I think the Bonnie Raitt song we did is still one of my favorite things we've ever done.
Yeah.
So my regret is I mixed the whole thing, and I was still early on learning what to do and trying to get her vocal, and there was just like the snare drums were bleeding it. Like, it was a audio mess because of me. And I think it sounds okay, but I wish I'd know if I could do that album again now, I would love it. But I still listen to it all the time. So
yeah, no, it's a great one.
Awesome. This next one is from Tony. So we recently did an episode about the 2009 All I Ever Wanted, the little pre-shows that you guys did before.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that till just now.
Is that something you would ever do again, like a little pre-show with covers on released tracks before headlining?
I would. I loved it. Obviously, it's a whole layer of Kelly's day and schedule and her schedule. So now that she has children, I just can't imagine that fitting into her. But I'm not speaking. I mean, the band would love to do it, and it was a level of work for us, but we enjoyed it completely.
We'll get a My Band Y'all pre-show with some karaoke going on over it.
Yeah. This one's from Twitter user K Clarkson team. They said, any project that was supposed to happen but didn't that you remember being bummed out about?
I don't know, actually. There was a lot of country songs that were really, really great that I still listen to. There's I don't think there's ever a project not bummed. I probably have a collection of 80 songs that we've recorded together, and I'm bummed that some of them haven't made it out yet. Like, there were some songs written around, what album was You Love Me on?
Stronger.
Yeah.
Stronger.
There was a whole collection of things that we recorded leading up to that we would go to studios, like we were doing the Asia tour, so we recorded in Korea and we recorded in the Philippines, and like,
that's so cool.
All these things, and they're some of my favorite lyrics and things, and they didn't make the light of day. But I still get to listen to them, and they've got me through some.
How very selfish of you.
Yeah. Everybody's trying to hack my computer right now.
Yeah.
This next one is from Jordan. Is there something on your bucket list that you would love to do with Kelly one day?
Funny enough, I was on a plane coming back we did a private show in Orlando, and I had just gotten the call that I was going to do 4 more Colby Kelly dates. So I was texting my wife and kids on the plane, oh my gosh, I get to do some more dates. And then I got a text from one of my favorite artists growing up, from her manager, that said, hey, we want to book this person on the Kelly Clarkson show. And I instantly texted our producers and said, you have to make this happen. Like, this is a bucket list for me. And it turns out our music booker on the show was also a big fan of this artist. And he's like, yes. And we started talking about the songs, and we're gonna make that happen. So that is gonna happen. And that's a bucket list thing to play for. And that's loosely related to Kelly because they're on the show.
Sure.
Right.
So then I texted my kids and I'm like, I can't believe this. Colby, we're doing this. Man, if I could just play for X, this would like seal it all for me. And it's an artist that there would be no reason to bring in a keyboard player for. And I just found out last week that in a few weeks I'm going to get to play for that artist.
I was going to say,
with Kelly singing as well.
Outstanding.
And it's going to be it's a crazy bucket list moment for me. The fans probably won't be as excited, and that's why I hate these like cryptic buildups.
No, it's okay.
Oh,
we'll
clearly they're talking about such and such, and it's like, oh, that's what they were excited about. So anyway, but it's pretty epic. So it's gonna be major.
This one is from Millie. It says, did you ever imagine that the fan request would be so acclaimed? How did the idea of putting it as a part of the talk show come about?
I don't know how that part came about. It's just it's become such a part of the DNA of a Kelly show. Everybody knows how the Trailer Park tour, we did the medley of covers that she has an idol, and then when we were doing a tour, it's like, well, we don't want to do the same covers every night. That's when we started implementing a new thing. I think it just became such a part of I remember the conversations being somewhat, Kelly's not like, most talk shows start with a monologue or a comedian,
Yeah.
We couldn't see Kelly coming out doing a monologue. So this just seemed like the way to do it. So.
Awesome.
Perfect.
This next one comes from Amelia. How does the travel with touring and the talk show season affect the band, considering some of you are not necessarily based in LA?
Well, pre-COVID, not an issue. We just, Kyle moved to LA full time. He actually grew up in Pasadena, so he moved his whole family here. Lester stayed in Nashville. I stayed in Nashville. Technically, I live in Nashville, although I haven't been home in months. But to me, LA, I'm working here, and then I'm keeping my house in Nashville. Jocko's already out here. Jesse's already out here, so it wasn't an issue at first. COVID became a huge challenge because, for my family, we have a rule that we don't go more than 3 weeks without seeing each other, and we've kept that up for 18 years. But with the pandemic, it felt irresponsible to do that much travel, especially early on before a lot of the research came out about how safe airplanes are. Which I'm now comfortable being on an airplane. I'm still not comfortable in some of the airport scenarios, but there's a huge responsibility, even if I'm not worried about dying, or even if you feel like you're not high risk, even a positive test could shut down our whole production. So we have 200 people whose lives depend on this. So that affected all of our travel and how we were going about doing things. So definitely a challenge. But we're not touring as much with Kelly. So it's like the travel, hopefully now if I can make it home every 3 months, I'm doing good.
Oh boy.
This one is for Jonathan. These are the last two here are not Kelly related questions. These are going to be Jason specific questions. Jonathan wants to know your favorite superhero.
Oh goodness.
Do you get into
Marvel.
the Marvel? Like I say, do you do the Marvel movies, or are you a DC guy?
I just don't think I'm a superhero person. I'm sorry. I mean, I love any of the Thor stuff. I just watched Black Widow, and not me at all. Like it felt like I was watching Fast and the Furious with Transformers, but to be fair, I haven't watched any of the Captain America movies, so I was pausing every 20 minutes to try to Google what's up. Like
that would be me.
I think I'm more into I enjoy more fantasy, like Harry Potter. I love dystopia. I love Hunger Games type stuff. I love there's a new series on Disney right now called The Mysterious Benedict Society. Like that's my thing. I love that sort of visuals. But anyway, Avengers probably, or Thor is probably my favorite character. And the new Loki series, best Marvel thing ever done. So
Truth.
The series. I think I enjoy the series more than the movies because there's more time to develop the characters. So, yeah.
All right. Final question.
Okay.
Favorite 80s song?
Wow, there's so many. Probably Howard Jones, No One Is to Blame.
Oh, that is such a good song.
I'm showing my age.
Oh,
listen to it. And I love it because it was produced by Phil Collins, and it has one of the most.
Word.
I mean, Phil Collins is known for his iconic drum fills, and I'm a huge fan. Like, if anybody has seen Mr. Know-It-All live, you know that the end of the Mr. Know-It-All bridge, I've put in the Phil Collins drum fill.
Yes.
And poor Lester hates it. He rolls his eyes every time. But I'm like, and I have this rule that when we do the drum fill, nobody plays. It's supposed to be just Lester. And so guitar players hang over. I'm like, nope, nobody plays over the fill. So anyway, and No One Is to Blame. Phil Collins produced that, and he has a drum fill going with his first verse, and it's one of my favorite.
Oh, but, excellent choice. Yeah. I want to sneak in one rapid fire for me. I want to know: are you, Jason Halbert, on a one-man crusade to keep the keytar relevant?
That's Kelly. She keeps on doing it. Like, she's the one who kind of started off as a joke, and in the keyboard community, well, probably in the world, the keytar is the most least cool thing you can play. And I think it was might have been All I Ever Wanted Tour, and I think it was For My Life Would Suck. I got the keytar out, and I had my tech sort of paint it to make it look a little bit cooler. So now she's the one that keeps on asking to bring it back. So anytime, I don't know, did our version of Tainted Love air from this season yet? From season 2? I don't know if
it sounds, because I know I've seen you play the keytar
on
the show this season.
Surrounding Kelly, and it's the keytar thing, and so she gets so she makes me play the keytar, and just like Lester hates playing the cajon. The cajon is like the little square box that you play.
Yeah.
Kelly loves that, and so that's she's like, Lester, I'm gonna get you on the cajon, and he's like, oh man. So, but I just hate the keytar because I really enjoy being behind the B3. I really enjoy being back to stage. I get the bird's eye view of the whole thing. So when you have a keytar and you have to actually go out and get behind your security blanket, that's mortifying to me.
Well, Jason, thank you so much, honestly, for spending all this time with us. We are so thankful that you could chat with us, and we wish you all the best in season 3 for album number 9 and everything that is to come. We are so thankful that you had some time for us today.
Well, thank you guys. Appreciate what you guys do, and love hearing from you.
Thank you so much, Jason. We really appreciate it. We know you're super busy, and have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening and watching our special interview with Kelly's music director, Jason Halbert. Don't forget you can connect with us on social anywhere at Miss Indepodcast, and make sure you download new episodes of Miss Indepodcast every Tuesday on your favorite podcast platform.